Maxim Brewery, double Maxim.
And remember, life is too short to be drinking shitty beer.
Welcome to another edition of Bands, Bikes and Booze Reviews. This beer is one that I've been trying to hunt down almost since the channel started over 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago now. And there was a couple of subscribers who told me that I need to try this because it's one of them beers that is exceptional. It's an English ale, or should I more accurately say, it's a northeast of England brown ale. Now, the northeast has got a tradition of brown ale. Obviously, Newcastle Brown is the most well-known one, but Sunderland has got its own brown ale as well. And this is the double Maxim. Now, this has got a really interesting history. I'm going to tell you it. If you don't like the history on the channel, skip forward, all right? But I think this is worthy of an explanation. More people need to know about this. Right. Originally, this stuff was brewed by the Vaux Brewery, V-A-U-X. I'm sure that's how it's pronounced. It's a French name. It means worth. And the family, I would imagine, used that French pronunciation as well. But they were a big brewing family in the northeast, specifically Sunderland. And they brewed beer, various types of beer. But one of the family members, who was also worked in the brewery, when I say worked, he was one of the directors. He was also in the army, and he went to South Africa during the Boer War, and when he came back they brewed Maxim after the Maxim gun detachment that he commanded during the Boer War. Now, apparently he was quite a brave officer. He got numerous mentions in dispatches and took part in a lot of actions in the Boer War. And as I say, when they came back, they named this beer after his Maxim gun detachment that he commanded. If you're not sure what a Maxim gun is, it's a type of very early machine gun used by the Germans more so than the British. The British used the Vickers during World War I, but during the Boer War they used the Maxim gun. Second World War, I think the Russians used the Maxim gun. They used to tow it round on a little trolley. But yeah, it's basically a gun. So it's named after a gun. So why is it called double Maxim? Well, they upped the ABV a short while after, hence the term double Maxim. Now, I just want to concentrate on this officer I'm talking about. His name was Ernest Vaux, and he rose to the rank of Lieutenant Colonel. Exceptionally brave man. He also fought during World War I, from 1914 right through to 1918. Not to the end. I'll get onto why he didn't fight right to the end. He was part of the Territorial Army Unit, and they went out to France and Flanders in 1914. And he was commanding, I think, the 7th Battalion, the Durham Light Infantry, who were all local Sunderland lads who went out there. And they took part in some of the bloodiest battles during World War I. And there was one particular battle in 1915 where they were attacked from all sides by the Germans, and the Germans by that time were using poison gas. And he was based up on a hill. He liked to get forward with his men, and he commanded by example, and he liked to get forward with his men. This gas attack, you've got to remember, 1915, gas was quite new to warfare, and the Germans used it first. In fact, my great uncle he fought for the 5th Royal Irish Lancers. He took part in one of the first gas attacks where the combined British and Canadians were attacking the Germans in, I think it was Luz, and yeah, it went pear-shaped because they had no defence against gas. It was never used before. Horrible, horrible form of warfare. And I think it's one of the reasons why Hitler never used gas in the Second World War, because I think he was gassed during World War I as well. So yeah, it was fucking tragic if you see some of the photos of men blinded, and the way you die from certainly mustard gas, you would drown from the inside, even though there was no water. The fluid in your lungs would drown you and you couldn't breathe. A fucking barbaric form of warfare, and quite rightly it's outlawed now. But anyway, they came under attack, a gas attack, and he ran up onto the hill because the gas was very low lying and men were getting caught up in it, and he ordered all his men to stop running, get up on the hill, and they stood on the hill and they sung a hymn, Abide With Me, and they survived the gas attack. I know, it's the stuff of legend. And he was recommended for a Victoria Cross, but sadly the letters of dispatch got lost somewhere and that was never awarded to him. But yeah, what a brave fella, and what a life he led as well. And unfortunately died choking on a fucking rabbit bone. How's your luck? You go through all that and you choke on a rabbit bone. I think he was 85 when that happened, but tragic, absolutely tragic. But him and his family owned the Vor Brewery, which was based in Sunderland, and it brewed this double Maxim. Never seen it down here, never heard of it down here until the channel started. And then a lot of people mentioned it to me. I do remember Vor, they used to sponsor Sunderland, and they went bust in 1999. But I don't think they went bust, they closed. So I'm assuming they went bust. But the director and the head brewer immediately started another brewery and started brewing some of their beers as well. And they brewed, I think it was Ward's Bitter, Samson and Maximus. I think Maximus is a stronger version of this. I could be wrong on that one though. But they're still going and they're still upholding that tradition. So even though it's not the Vor Brewery, it is in essence, you got the head brewer. I'm not sure whether the head brewer is still there or not, or the director, but you can still get this. Now, I found this today in Morrison's. If you've got a local Morrison's, which is quite sizable, they're having a little bit of a beer festival, local beer festival. And I happened upon it by chance because it's not near the beer section. It was just randomly put into one of the aisles. And I walked past and I thought, fuck me, that's double Maxim. And then I looked round and they had a load of other local ales as well. Not just local to here, but from smaller breweries. So, for example, I picked up a bottle of the Exmouth Stag as well, and quite a few others. So if you see some more English beers on here, you know that they've come from this Morrison's beer festival. Right, this beer I think is warming up slightly. So if this is drunk in the same way as Newcastle Brown, this needs to be served chilled and it needs to be drunk from a half-pint glass. If it's not, then I do apologise, but that's where I'm getting the chilled and the half-pint glass. It probably says something different on the bottle, but let's find out, see what's going on. Right, 500ml clear bottle. The Newcastle Brown is in a clear bottle, so that seems to be a traditional thing. It's 4.7%, and what does it contain? I think, oh, it hasn't even got the ingredients. No, it hasn't got it. Oh well. The spiel on the back says, the first one and only. In 1901, Maxim Ale was first introduced to the northeast. Following an increase in strength in 1938, it became known as Double Maxim. The premium quality ale is still famous among discerning drinkers for its well-rounded flavour. And there you go. And it's got a nice label. I do like that label. Maxim Premium Brown Ale, full of northern character since 1901. All flavour, no flannel. I like that. In case you're wondering what flannel means, it's basically no bullshit. But there you go. Let's get it open. Let's see what's going on. Yeah, as I say, I've been trying to get hold of this for ages, more or less since the channel started, and I am really looking forward to this. If the hype is like all the viewers who said I should get it, then this is going to be a great beer. Cap is just red. What is that smell? No, I thought it was skunky. It's not, which is unusual. But it's a dark beer. Now, dark beers can get skunked, but it's usually the light beers that really do suffer. I don't know whether it's because of the brown colour of the ale, but you don't normally. Well, I think I've tasted a couple that have been a little bit skunked, but it's not. And one of them actually, I think, was Newcastle Brown Ale. But you don't normally tend to get skunked beer that's dark in clear bottles. And I've only ever tried, and that's a lie, I've tried one beer which was a bock from the, is it Einbecker brewery, German brewery, and I think that might have been skunked, but I'm not sure. That was a dark bock. But there it is in the glass. That looks superb. That really does look nice. And why I'm saying that is, I think you can tell a good beer by the uniformity of the bubbles, and that is a really uniform white head on that. As I say, this is slightly chilled. It's not freezing cold, it's just chilled, in the same sort of spirit as a Newcastle Brown would be. I'm not reviewing Newcastle Brown on the channel because that has turned into absolute fucking dog shit. It ain't going to happen. But there you go. Right, all that remains now is to taste it. Oh, hang on, let's get the aroma. Let's see what we're getting on the aroma. It's quite spicy, which is not something I'd expect in a brown ale. And it's reminded me of a Shepherd Neame beer. Shepherd Neame really do put the emphasis on English hops in their beer. If you ever smelt Spitfire, or you ever smell Master Brew, or you ever smell, what's the other one, Bishop's Finger, it smells a lot like that, but not as strong. The Shepherd Neame stuff is really strong, really earthy and bitter, almost green leaf type bitter. And this is like that. And it's not something I would expect on a brown ale, but there you go. Let's get it down the hatch and see what's going on. Bottoms up. Not bad. It's not bad at all. Right, now this is making sense. The first mouthful was almost like a best bitter. There was real big hop emphasis on that, and it did have flavour that reminded me of a bitter with them spicy and earthy notes. Second mouthful, getting more of the caramel malt coming through now, and that's what I expect more of on a brown ale, certainly a brown ale from the northeast. Now my favourite brown ale is the Sam Smith's Nut Brown Ale. That is a fantastic brown ale, one of my favourites. It's got a little bit of invert sugar in there as well, which makes it really nice, really drinkable as well. And I often, when I go to the Sam Smith's pubs, various Sam Smith's pubs in London, I always order a bottle of the Nut Brown Ale, and it's normally really nice. It goes down really well. But this is quite nice as well. Oh yeah, much more of that caramel malt coming through now. That's the brown ale that I know, and it's nice. In fact, it's really nice. This, well, Newcastle Brown doesn't even compare to it now. This, you can tell, I know Newcastle Brown is brewed on a bigger scale, but this is superb. It's really good. Nice mouthfeel, nice flavours, nice bit of hop character on it as well. Don't normally see that, even on the Sam Smith stuff. You do get a little touch, but it's not big. It's more about the caramel sweetness and the invert sugar, which make it quite palatable. There is some hop character on it, a light bitterness, but not like this. The hop character does shine through a little bit more on this, which is nice, but the dominant flavour, as it should be, is the caramel malt. Really good. Reminds me a little bit of a German alt beer, a good German alt beer. I don't know why, but it does. Probably because it's got the heavy emphasis on the caramel malt, but there is also a little bit of hop character on there as well, and it's good. I really like it. Oh, and it actually gets better and better as you go down. God, this is really good. Is it better than the Sam Smith's Nut Brown Ale? I don't think so. But I think, well, I'm saying I don't think so. I really can't tell. And as a viewer correctly pointed out, unless you've got the two beers side by side, and you're a little bit unsure, then you really need to do a comparison video. Can I get a bottle of Sam Smith's Nut Brown Ale? Not at short notice. Nowhere around here does it, unfortunately. If I can, and this stuff is still around, then I will. But I'm liking this. As I say, this is really good, and it's seriously, if you go into Morrison's and you're looking for a bottle of Newcastle Brown, A, why are you fucking looking for Newcastle Brown? And B, get yourself some of this. This is just light years ahead of that fucking abomination, whatever that is now. That is just disgusting. That contains, what's the stuff they put in Caffrey's? Like a caramel colour, a colouring or caramel flavouring or something like that. Oh, fuck off. Why bother brewing beer if you're going to put caramel flavouring in it? Well, I know why. Because you're cutting corners. But they're not cutting corners with this. This is fucking great. That's really nice. This is great. And it does beg the question why a lot more craft brewers aren't brewing stuff like this. Because even the Yanks are doing it. Now, here's one for you. I don't know whether you can see it, but I'll turn the camera around slightly. Can you see that Arrogant Bastard ale? That's an American ale. And that was really nice. And that reminded me of a brown ale, an English brown ale. It's very malt forward. And I remember watching a review of that. And there was I think 2 or 3 American reviewers, and they couldn't work out why there was no big hop character on it. I could, because I knew exactly what they were doing. They called it an ale, and what I think they'd done is they'd copied an English ale, and they got it spot on. It was really nice. I did enjoy that. And the critics couldn't work out. They give it a shit mark because they couldn't. That's how attuned their palates were. They were just looking for them hops. And I'm not going to go into a rant. I'm having murders on that beer advocate forum. If you want to watch a circus going on, watch me not bashing the Yanks, but explaining why they shouldn't be calling IPAs, and yeah. I mean, it's all good natured. I'm not being horrible or nothing, but it's interesting anyway to me. But let's get back to this beer. This is a good one, and I'm liking it. And the more it goes down, the more I'm bloody well liking it. Super easy drinking, nice flavour, but not overpowering flavour as well. So that's quite sessionable. And if you like ruby ales, and you can get this stuff, and if you haven't already, then you seriously need to start drinking some of this. Now, it's been relatively easy. Well, no, it hasn't. That's a fucking lie. It's been relatively fucking difficult for me to find this. But my local Morrison's down here in Kent, which is a few hundred miles away from Sunderland. I've actually been to Sunderland. Nice people up there. Went to a couple of away games. I think I've been there twice. I think I went to the old Roker Park and the new Stadium of Light. And I have to say, there used to be, I wouldn't say there is much, but certainly with the crowd I used to knock about with, and I knock about with a couple of different crowds over at West Ham when I go, but the crowd that I did knock around with, they had a big sort of friendship going on with a lot of Sunderland fans, and they were great, real nice people. I could see not the anger, but the half hatred that they have for Newcastle, because they've always lived in their sort of shadow, and Newcastle have always been the richer club and Sunderland has been overlooked. All these fellas who I was talking to all worked in the Nissan plant, which is up there, and there was a bit of a scare going on after Brexit. They were saying that they want to close the Nissan plant, and I did think about him and I thought, I hope their jobs are safe, and luckily they were. But where was I going with this? Yeah, this is a credit to Sunderland. It's a fucking great beer, and if you like ruby ales, get hold of some of this because it's got all the characteristics. I'm really liking this. That hop character has slightly died down now, and it's just all about the caramel malt. Easy drinking, very nice indeed. So what is the verdict on Double Maxim? Well, finally, after 2.5 years of trying to get this beer, I've got it. Was it worth the wait? I think so. It's a good beer. I like it. It's not your average brown ale, because of course everybody, as soon as you say the phrase brown ale, they automatically think of Newcastle Brown, and that needs to stop, because Newcastle Brown is fucking horrible. I remember I tried it, oh, it must be over a year ago. In fact, did I do it on the channel? If there is a link, and I shouldn't really be doing that, because again, I'm just going after what I just said about the fellas from Sunderland, and I'm not promoting Newcastle Brown. Well, maybe I should, because I think the review of it was scathing. But if it's still up there, I'll see if I can put a link, and yeah, you can watch that. But this is fucking light years ahead of anything that's Newcastle Brown is doing now. It's not even brewed in Newcastle anymore, is it? I mean, at one point it was brewed in Holland. I think Heineken have taken it over, and it was brewed in Holland, and it was fucking horrible. And I think it had caramel colour and like horrible brewing syrup and all that. It was, honestly, you could tell they just did not give a fuck, and they just knew that because the trademark was well known, that they could more or less get away with anything. But they weren't fooling me. Anyway, why am I talking about an inferior Newcastle beer when I should be talking about a quality Sunderland beer? And that really is good. I'm really impressed with that, and I think I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. I really do like it. I think, and I should do a comparison video with the Sam Smith's Nut Brown Ale, because it's up there with it. And Nut Brown Ale is my favourite. I think that is a fantastic beer. I think Sam Smith's do get the use of... Hang on, let me sort that fucking camera out, because you're not getting me good side, which is the underside of my boot these days. But the Sam Smith's Nut Brown Ale is good, and they use the invert sugar with just the right amount, in my opinion. But I think I should do a comparison, because this is really good, and I think it's going to go down at the moment as one of my favourite brown ales. It's superb. And brown ale, you have to remember, is a tradition up in the northeast, and obviously, you know, Newcastle have had that, but this lot from Sunderland have had their brown ale as well, and I'm glad that this is still going and it's still independent. They're currently the largest independent brewer in the northeast, which I think is great. And if you can get hold of it, it cost me £2, and for £2, that is a fucking bargain. I don't know what you'll pay for Newcastle Brown, but don't. If you can get this, buy this. This is brilliant. I love it. 8.5 out of 10, and definitely recommended. And remember, beer is working class champagne.